I've had very good talks with Putin, and I've had not such good talks with Ukraine. They don't have any cards, but they play it tough.
President Donald Trump spoke about the ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia, emphasizing the dire situation in Ukraine. He described the war as terrible and horrible, highlighting the extreme toll it's taking on both countries and the world. Trump noted that Ukraine, despite its tall stance, has no cards to play in the conflict, implying that their leverage is limited, especially without strong support from the US.
We're negotiating with Russia, Ukraine, trying to get that horrible situation over with. It's terrible. It's just so terrible. I see pictures that you fortunately don't get to see. You don't want to see them. And that is a killing field. You have young soldiers being killed, thousands a week, and we got to get it over with. It's bad for Russia, and it's bad for Ukraine, and it's bad for us on a humanitarian basis.
He compared the war devastation to a killing field, with soldiers dying by thousands every week, and pointed out the massive destruction of Ukraine cities, which were once beautiful and culturally significant. Trump stated that he had previously had a good talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin, but less productive discussion with Ukraine, and added that if he were president, the war would have never happened.
I've had very good talks with Putin, and I've had not such good talks with Ukraine. They don't have any cards, but they play it tough. But we're not going to let this continue. This war is terrible. It would have never happened if I were president, but it did happen, so I got stuck with it, and the whole world is stuck with it.
Trump then called for an end to the conflict, stressing the need for both sides to come to the table, warning that the situation is spiraling out of control with too many lives lost. He also suggested that the war has left the world in a difficult position and urged actions to bring it to a close.
And right now you have a country that has its cities, they look like demolition sites. Those beautiful towers, those 1,000-year-old golden domes that were so beautiful, the most beautiful in the world, they say, they're all in smithereens. Millions of people are killed, I think far more people than anyone understands. And we have people that better get to the table and get it ended.
Hello, welcome back to my channel. If today is your first time, I'm excited to see you here. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Notice family for your top trending videos, reactions, and top highlights. And without wasting much more time, let's dive into it. Caroline Leavitt had a tense exchange with a journalist over why the media resists effort to cut waste, fraud, and abuse in government programs. Leavitt argued that tackling these issues is important for improving government spending, but the journalist pointed out the challenge and political fallout. Leavitt expressed frustration, questioning why the media doesn't focus more on these issues.
Why is the media so against cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from the government? I don't get it.
I just want to ask you a question.
We won't be deterred. We will not be deterred from people like you and the press who are clearly adamantly opposed to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. But we know that American taxpayers at home who have been struggling with an inflationary crisis don't want their tax dollars going towards crazy DEI programs in countries overseas. They also don't like the fact that there has been $71 billion worth of fraud in Social Security and improper payments going out the door. That's a problem that needs to be fixed, and President Trump is going to fix it.
President Donald Trump and Maine Governor Janet Mills had a heated disagreement over the issue of transgender athletics in sports. Trump, a strong critic of allowing transgender women to compete in women's sports, argued that such policies are unfair and undermine the integrity of women's athletics. Governor Mills, on the other hand, defended inclusive policies, emphasizing the importance of protecting the rights of transgender individuals. The clash highlighted the ongoing national debate over how to balance fairness in sports with transgender rights. In a dramatic turn, Governor Mills told Trump, "See you in court," signaling a potential legal battle over the issue.
Are you not going to comply with it? Well, we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one.
$42 million for social and behavioral change in Uganda. $10 million for Mozambique medical male circumcision. We're doing circumcisions in Mozambique to the tune of approximately $12 million.
President Trump highlighted several programs funded by taxpayer money under the Biden administration that he called wasteful. These include $520 million for a consultant on environmental, social, and governance investment in Africa, $525 million for biodiversity projects in Colombia, and $40 million for migrant inclusion efforts. He also criticized $42 million spent on social programs in Uganda and $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. $29 million for Bangladesh political landscape. Trump also mentioned cuts to programs like $100 million for condoms for Hamas, including funds for political processes in countries like Serbia and India, questioning the need for such foreign spending.
$520 million for a consultant to do ESG, that's environmental, social, and governance investments in Africa. $525 million. $25 million to promote biodiversity conservation and social responsibility behavior in Colombia. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody even knows what the hell it means. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $486 million to the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, including $22 million for inclusive and participatory political process in Moldova, and $21 million for voter turnout in India. Why are we caring about India turnout? We got enough problems. We want our own turnout, don't we? Can you imagine all that money going to India?
He then discussed the funding of Social Security fraud, where millions of people were reported to live well beyond a century, with some cases listing ages up to 361 years old. He vowed to investigate and clean up these fraudulent claims to ensure the system remains solvent. Trump emphasized that these actions were part of his ongoing effort to eliminate government waste, fraud, and abuse.
Social Security, as you know, generally speaking, people don't live to be over 100 years old. We all will, I think, 120, 130, hopefully. But listen to this. On the program, there are 4.7 million Social Security members who go and live from 100 to 109. Well, I'll tell you, I know some people that are close to 100. I know one or two that got over that mark. But you don't have millions. 3.6 million people from age 110 to age 119. 3.47 million people from age 120 to 129. In other words, 120 to 129 years old. Millions of people, millions. 3.9 million people from age 130 to 139, which is pretty amazing because the longest living person ever on record, and they're not sure it was correct, was a woman from a very faraway place, lived to 127 years old. She was a healthy specimen, but she lived to 127. 3.5 million people from age 140 to 149. So we have 140-year-old people plus millions of them. 1.3 million people live to over 150 years of age, 150 to 159 to be exact. Over 130,000 people over the age of 160 years old, including 1,039 people between the ages of 220 to 229. And we're going to be investigating this fraud. We had one person who was 361 years old. And what we're doing now is we're finding how many of these people were paid.